Hello, and welcome to Introduction to Anti-Oppression Terminology. This video is brought to you by the Rainbow Diversity Institute, a company that does education on equity, diversity, and inclusion topics like this and many others. You can learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. So today's video is going to provide an introduction to some key concepts in anti-oppression work, including equity, equality, and justice. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what the difference between those terms are so that you can use those terms appropriately and also recognize when an initiative or experience is one of equality, equity, or justice. So you may have seen this image before. This is taken from Get Real Science, and the link is down there in the bottom corner of the screen. And this image shows visually the distinction between equality, equity, and justice. So we can see in the first slide, what's happening here is each person is given the same platform to stand on in order to see over the fence to the game. This is an example of equality in that everyone is given the same resources, but we can see that this doesn't necessarily respond to some of the needs of people in this particular context. In the second image, we have equity. In this case, the resources have been redistributed so that those with the most need for them are receiving the resources they need, and those who don't need the resources don't access those resources. So in the equity example, all three individuals are able to see over the fence, some with support, and others are able to just see over the fence by virtue of how their bodies are and how the fence has been constructed. In this justice example, we see the fence being removed, although not removed altogether. In this case, the reason for that would be that there actually needs to be some kind of barrier in place to protect the viewers, but you could imagine another interpretation of justice that maybe removes the barrier altogether or removes the fence altogether. In this case, we've moved beyond equity. We're not just providing people with the things that they need, but we're actually creating the context or the environment or structuring the environment in a way that it immediately responds to the needs, to the person with the most needs. So the idea with justice and also with equity is that if you're addressing the needs of the person or the group of people who would have the most needs in a particular environment, then by virtue of that, you are actually addressing all of the potential needs. So let's talk a little bit more about that difference between equality and equity. So equality refers to distributing resources equally amongst all groups, whereas, as I mentioned, equity recognizes the existing inequalities and refers to the practice of providing everyone with the resources and the supports that they need to thrive or to participate meaningfully in a given environment. And therefore, equity is addressing those differences in access or ability amongst particular social groups. Justice is actually more closely tied to the concept of fairness, and it's connected to equity in that it's responsive to the unequal treatment of marginalized people, and it also recognizes the impacts of historical and ongoing harms, and makes an effort to actually reimagine or reconstruct the environment so that it is inherently fair. So social justice, when we talk about social justice, we're talking about fairness as it manifests in our society. And so just going back to this original image here, you can see that there is a clear distinction between equality, equity, and justice. And so it's really important that when we're using these terms to talk about anti-oppression and initiatives that we're engaging in, we are sure that we understand whether what we're doing is creating a process that is an equality process, an equity process, or a justice-based process. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video. You can find more videos like this at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca, as well as more information around anti-oppression learning and action. So thank you so much.